Today's topic will be how it is commonly assumed that people who are in CS or IT branches can only succeed in the tech industry, but this is kind of not actually true. So, to debunk this myth, we have a truly gifted individual who has not only excelled in the tech workplace but also is an excellent leader. Her name is Vani. Thank you so much for coming here, and we're thrilled to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So, before we deep dive into the topic, so how have you been, Vani?
I'm doing great, enjoying the weekends
How's the GDSC going there?
extremely well. Like we've got so many overwhelming responses that we are like totally shocked, like how to separate the mentees for our mentorship program.
That's good. Like your college is really inspiring, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So the question that we kind of have, they are really interesting, and I would like to start this discussion with a question that actually sums up every insecurity, every doubt that a person from a non CSIT branch would have. So just saying it clearly, plainly, no edits, is it true that most of the product based companies don't allow core branches students in their jobs? And if someone gets the job, then he can't be a hardcore coder. He can only be like support assistant type post. In short, a tech background student will always have a lead, whether the companies are product based or service based. That's the question.
Okay, so that's definitely not true because in my college is like the placement drives is going on right now. So most of the companies do allow EC and MA, with the exception of some companies, and even some companies do like just token allowers. They don't actually select some people, but then again, that's just only 10% of the companies. You still have 90% of the ones that are really non-biased and would be looking at all the people same regardless of what their branch is or like what their CGPA is, so it doesn't matter at all. Like for me, I didn't have to give a lot of on campus tests because I was selected very early. But then again, the tests that I usually gave, some of them were a little partial against ECE. I have to say that. But then again, a lot of companies don't do that. So you have a lot of chances to get that. And especially if you have a good LinkedIn profile or a development profile, then it would be raining office to you because I used to get LinkedIn messages for applying to companies and internships. Though I was in second year only, so I was not eligible for those positions. But then again, a good profile definitely helps you, and the branch does not matter at that point of time.
Right, rightly said. You mentioned about, yeah, your LinkedIn is really super impressive.
Thank you.
So you mentioned about having a good LinkedIn profile and a good developer profile. So how can someone get started with that? Any tips on that?
Mhm. So mostly developers are present either on LinkedIn or Twitter or both. So you should utilize those platforms and like just go find your crowd out there. Like I recently got active on Twitter and found a good crowd over there that's spreading good opportunities for people. And then on LinkedIn you have to follow certain kind of people so that you don't miss out on opportunities that you can grab. Some opportunities are definitely only for CSIT backgrounds, but that's only again 5 or 10% of the opportunities. But the rest of them, you need to keep your eyes and ears open to find those opportunities. So having a good profile automatically just optimizes your LinkedIn timeline and Twitter timeline, and you find usually the stuff that's helpful for you. Either it is tips about improving your resume or tips about getting into some opportunity. So you need to find the good crowd, and then again a good profile definitely helps that, and the crowd that you have on your social media definitely helps you.
Right. So you suggest, you recommend that we should have a good LinkedIn and a GitHub profile.
Yeah, definitely GitHub, and if you can just like invest your 1 or 2 hour to make a good readme on GitHub, because that's an introduction for you for the companies that usually look over your resume, because for the tech roles they usually prefer to go over your GitHub and look on your past projects and see like what all organizations you are part of, what all contributions do you make in open source, and what kind of projects do you have. So they basically judge you over that for not only for interviews or maybe for scholarship programs as well. So that's very important to keep a profile super clean and super organized.
Right. Also, you mentioned open source, and I know, like we all know, you're an Outreachy intern. So if you want to give some insights about that, because I believe open source is a great platform with branch doesn't matter, and probably we could.
Yeah, like open source was the only platform I could see as a second year which was non-biased. Like it doesn't matter even if you're from an engineering college or not, open source doesn't discriminate on that. So if you are a person who can't find opportunities right now, then I suggest get started with open source, because it doesn't matter on what tech stack level you are, or like what all tech stack do you even know. If you're just a beginner with HTML or CSS, you still can contribute. So that's a very good part about it. I started last year in October when Hacktoberfest was around the clock, and then I just got to know about the program, and I was kind of curious, like what all open source is and what programs does it have. So I just went around on YouTube and searched a lot of stuff. Then some repositories to which I can contribute. My college played a big part in it, because the college societies did have their open source projects to which I initially contributed to build up my confidence before I started applying to Outreachy and other such programs. Outreachy, I can say, was very accidental surprise for me, because I wasn't expecting at all to get in for the first time. But yeah, I did, and even now that my internship is officially over, I'm still in touch with my community and I'm still contributing to them as a part-time contributor.
That's great. It was not luck. You're really talented. You need to know about that. So, you mentioned Hacktoberfest, so it's going to come pretty soon, I guess,
Yeah.
in October, and then the whole that free T-shirts are there. Just make PRs. I know. I also got started with open source as much as I did with Hacktoberfest. It's a really good opportunity.
Yeah, that's good. Like you some of you might even get your first tech t-shirt from that. I didn't get that though because my package got lost somewhere in the middle of Bermuda Triangle. But then again, it gives you a very good exposure to open source, because initially in Hacktoberfest, like not all of you might be able to contribute to a repository that is like on a very big level, like just say Firefox or Mozilla, because open source honestly is intimidating at start. So it's better that if you start with small repositories and small code bases to build up your confidence, and then move on to programs and like big repositories like Firefox, Mozilla, and OpenStack, and like Eclipse or Optium, like that was an organization I was contributing to. And there's a lot more to contribute, but then again, starting is the hardest part. And if you overcome your fears and the intimidation part, then open source is a really good heaven for opportunities.
Beautifully explained. Also, I wanted to touch upon that point when you said, it's difficult to get started with something. There's this, I would say, you have to make a leap to, get over your fears. So, how did you get over your fear, if you had any, or if you had something
Hmm.
related to hesitation or like that?
Okay, so I'll be honest about it. In my first year, I was not a tech student at all. Like I was involved with my dramatic society, the street theater society, as you may all know. Like it's a very huge part of the culture of the Delhi universities, like all the Delhi-based universities. So I was totally devoted to the dramatics in my first year, and was not even aware about the opportunities, like what all should I even do to get an internship or a job. But then after the lockdown was imposed due to COVID, I got some sense knocked into me, because I could see my peers are getting ahead of me. So that was a push for me. Like there could be different motives for you to get started with something, but that was a push for me, because in my school time I used to be an overachiever, but in college I was like kind of busy with my own stuff and exploring myself. So after second year started, I just got back to C++, and then I started doing DSA, and along with that I started development. And after like a semester passed on, I just got into open source after being good well versed with web development. So that was my motivation point, and how I like overcame my fears and got started with the stuff like in the tech scene.
Right. So, do you think the environment, the community around you, did help you go into this track, or was it like your own self and a motivation, or how we can, find a community that can help us?
Mhm. So initially, I was a lone wolf, because obviously I was kind of very lost in first year after like the lockdown was imposed, because a lot of people were part of societies, but I couldn't get the chance, because like dramatic society obviously used to take all the hours that I had from myself. So I was initially a lone wolf. I didn't have any resources to go to, so I had to Google out myself and then start with small things. Like I started with ProGate. I think you might be knowing it. It's a platform for web development and learning various languages. So I started, like, I revised HTML because that was taught in school to me. So I just started that, but after my second year started officially, the societies began recruiting for people, for mentees. So that's how I got into some societies, and definitely the mentors helped me to, like, help me build small projects that boosted my confidence. And then they used to give us DSA assignment questions and help us if we even had any doubts. So definitely being in a society or a community where like-minded people are present around you and you have good mentors is a very important part to get started with the journey if you haven't already.
Right, mentorship plays a really huge part. uh,
Definitely.
Totally. We are trying to inculcate that culture in our college,
And GDSC, like, I'll tell you, like GDSC, initially I was a mentee in second year. Like,
right.
straight from being a mentee, I was straight chosen as a leader just because they could
Wow.
see the dedication that I had. Because GDSC taught me a lot. Like, my campus had a very active GDSC last year, and this time we're going to be making it to the next level. So it's a really good opportunity for you that GDSC has started in your college, in your university. Just go and join up.
Right, totally right. How do you think, like, people here can make most out of it? Can they uh, just leverage it as much as they can, like you did, and you performed so well after that?
Yes, so even if after you join a college society, it's not like they'll spoon feed you. You have to take up your initiative, get started. Like, they can push you to get started with web development or make a project or two. But after that, when you are on your own, you need to push yourself to learn further. Like, just suppose if you have learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, then again after you have to push yourself to learn to React, maybe Angular or Vue, like whatever framework you like the most or as your project requires. So after learning front end, you need to push yourself to learn back end. So it's you, only the societies can give you a push. So, like, the events that the societies organize usually, like something that are not related to the mentorship circles, and like, like suppose they organize an event around Flutter or maybe a technology that is not new to you, still you can attend that, just because whenever you work on a project, the tech stack is not always certain. So learn as much as you can, motivate yourself to just join these sessions and network with people, because the more people in your network who are very, intellectual and tech minded, so a lot more you can learn from them. That's how I grew my circle, and that's how I came to a level that I'm on now.
That is really inspiring, really inspiring. So what I take from this is that you just need to show up everywhere, and just take as much knowledge as you can from all the events that the GDSC provides you.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So, like you mentioned, you started with DSA C++ in your second year. How did you manage these with your college curriculum, which is
Luckily everything turned out to be like in online mode, so it wasn't very difficult to manage at that time. But I am pretty much used to doing two three things at a time, because like my first year I was involved with dramatics. So when you're participating in such a mentally and physically draining activity, you still need to take out time for other activities in your life, other people in your life, right? So from there I learned very important life skills of time management and working even after you're very tired, like pushing your limits. So that's something that people can't teach you. You have to learn it yourself by experience. So either you learn it now on your own, or later in life you might get like just lessons, like, um like, if you learn it right now it is for your own good, but after that, after a certain point of life, like life teaches you this stuff, right? So learn it the good way or the hard way. That's my takeaway. So managing wasn't difficult at all, because lectures used to be online and teachers also used to get lazy sometimes, like, okay, I'll take this lecture later, or I'm in a meeting right now. So that used to give me a lot of time, and I covered up a lot of my syllabus even before time. And then I used to practice on lead code and hacker rank. So these were my go-to platforms to practice DSA.
all right. So you were like good in managing time, and I just feel like if you really want to do something, you find time for it, just like you did.
Definitely.
Okay. you took out time from you saw the opportunity that okay, college curriculum is not that hectic right now. Maybe I can take out some chunks of time from there. That's amazing. We can it's still online, so I guess people can still use it till it lasts.
Yeah.
Right. um how do you think a person from a non CSIT branch can prepare for a coding interview?
Mhm. So the thing is that the subjects that are CS and IT people taught, like object-oriented programming and DBMS and operating system, computer networks, these are some subjects that we are not taught officially in the university. Like some universities do give us the choice to select these as an option and an elective subject, like my university did. So I studied some of these subjects in my university, and some I did prepare by myself. So you can either go to a platform like Geeks for Geeks and interview bit and start learning, and maybe YouTube can be a big help for learning these subjects, because like in interview or in maybe the coding assessments, for some companies only the coding questions are not enough to go, like they also have MCQs and then questions about these subjects, so it's very important to prepare those as well. And in interviews they certainly ask about OOPS, because it's the most asked principle that they have and the subject that they have. And OOPS is also used even after you get into a job and start with real life development. So I suggest, like it's very difficult to learn your subjects like of your core branch and then manage along with the CS subjects. But if you're passionate enough and are motivated enough, you can still find out time to cover all these subjects. It won't take a lot of time. If you devote maybe 6 to 8 months right now, you can learn DSA like on a very good level, and then can cover these subjects as well, and you will be interview ready. It just takes like 6 to 8 months of high motivation and high persuasion levels.
Right, it's all about dedication,
Yeah.
no doubt. Where do you think they can probably, you mentioned about DSA, you said LeetCode and Geeks for Geeks, and then you mentioned OOPS and DBMS. How can they probably learn these subjects?
If you want to like go through a shortcut, then you can either refer to YouTube videos, like that's a very good resource to study from, because Niso Academy has a very good playlist on computer networks, I think, and Knowledge Gate has a playlist on DBMS, and there are certainly a lot more playlists that I'm forgetting right now. But interview bit is also a very good platform to revise these subjects before your interview. And also you can find like short study notes and revision notes for these subjects. And for DSA also you can find Geeks for Geeks. This platform is really amazing because you'll find the algorithms you couldn't even think of, like okay, this can come in the exam as well. So finding resources is not very difficult, but then utilizing them is the most difficult thing, because you have a notion of resources, but the right ones for you, it can only be determined by you. Like some people might refer YouTube videos to books, but books is also very good resource. Like if you want to dive deep into DBMS, you can read Korth, like Korth. It's a very good book on DBMS. And I'm forgetting about other books, but if I remember, I'll send Vivali a text and she can share it with you.
Sure, that was really actually very descriptive. Like I also got to know learn a lot from this thing. Okay, so um, like I do you have like a peer or someone in your branch? Because I am pretty sure like when someone would go through your LinkedIn profile and just kind of know about your achievements, like the first thing would be, oh, you must be from CS and IT, and you'll be like, no, I'm from EC.
Yeah, even in the group that we are in, right? So a lot of people confuse me for a CS person, and if I don't get selected for opportunities that are meant for only CS people, they're like, oh, you're not from CS, why didn't you get selected? I was like, oh, okay, that was branch restricted, but never mind. So I have a lot of peers in my ECE branch who are just as amazing as me. Like some people are interning in Flipkart at second year and now they're returning back to Flipkart, and some people just got into a lot of good companies like I can't name right now. But then again, EC people are no less than CS and IT, at least in my college I can confirm that.
Right, we also want to build that culture, so
Yeah.
that's why you're here, and we are really inspired by you, no doubt about that. So, like you said, there are some opportunities all around the year where there's no gender. Sorry, not gender. There's no branch discrimination. So, if you could list some of the major opportunities and how what is needed to excel in those fields? If you could just give an insight about that.
Okay, so a lot of opportunities in open source, like almost all of them that I can remember are like they are, don't look at the branch that you are, they are non-biased, so you can apply to those. Like Outreach is a very good program for beginners and intermediate level of open source contributors, and programs like Grace Hopper Celebration Scholarship, you can apply for that and network with people who are in tech. So even if you're from a non-tech background, you still can learn from people who are experienced and have worked in the tech industry for a long time. Also, there are certain scholarships like by Udacity where you can learn tech subjects without even being from a tech background. Like I got a scholarship for the DevOps program, so I got to the program and then I learned a little bit about DevOps, like what basically it is and how it is used in practice by the software devs and the testers. So you can definitely search about these opportunities. Like there are a lot more on LinkedIn. You can follow some people like Ursh Goel. I remember his name because he's the one who's posting opportunities left and right. So almost 90% of the opportunities are non-branch biased, but then again some are like even the big companies, they usually have a bias on the branch, but you can always ignore them. It's their loss if you're not getting into those programs, right? Because you have to believe that you're excellent enough, and it's the company's loss that they can't see through the branch barrier.
Rightly said. But the last point was really good. Like, why should we undermine ourselves? It's the company's loss.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Also, like there are scholarships. There are, I guess, Microsoft Engage was a huge opportunity for, like, as you said, 90% are not gender. I'm saying gender. I'm so sorry.
It's all
90%
right.
are not branch biased. And this is a myth that people think that okay, only CS people and only IT people have these opportunities, which is totally not true.
Yeah, like programs like Microsoft Engage or Flipkart Runway, these were some programs that many people from ECE and other branches got into, as far as I know. So you can look forward to these programs if you're in second year right now and will be in third year, like when these programs get introduced. They'll be next year in around April, May, or June. Just keep an eye out on these programs. Like they're very good, and obviously Flipkart and Microsoft are really well-known companies, so you might not want to miss those chance. And Flipkart Runway was for women only, but Microsoft Engage is a non-gender biased program, so even the boys and girls, like everyone can get into that program, doesn't matter. And there are certainly many more programs that are like hackathons and coding competitions through which you can get internship chances, even though if you're not from CS and IT. So keep participating, keep practicing, and apply even if it is a branch restricted program. ज़्यादा क्या ही होगा, you won't get selected, right? But then again, you'll learn something from it. You'll learn to how to write essays, how to fill out an application. Even that's a very important art that not a lot of people know about. Like I have reviewed many essays for people like who wanted to get into Outreach, and many of them were not even reading the questions properly. So that's very important. You need to understand like what all you have to present in an essay to get selected for a program.
Like there were just so many good points. I just have to list them. Really, they were just amazing points that you said that you just need to apply everywhere. Don't think that okay, maybe I'm eligible or not. Just apply. You can learn a lot from the application process itself. Great points. Really great points. And most of the opportunities they require DSA, right?
Not all, like the open source ones definitely not require DSA at all. Like even like in the open source opportunities, some of them don't even require you to be an engineering student at all. Like even if you're from a commerce background or are a working professional, it doesn't matter, you still can apply. And some of the opportunities do require DSA, like the ones from the big companies, they usually ask DSA questions, like for the coding rounds they have, or for the selection process they have, they usually do have a coding round. So DSA is still important. I'm not saying to totally neglect it, but just not only do DSA, dive into development and open source as well, because it would give you an opportunity to branch out as a developer and learn more from the people who are developing real life applications around you.
So we just got a question. After learning HTML, CSS, JS, what should I do? How to apply for internship projects?
Okay, so after learning JavaScript, like if you're good enough with it, you can start learning a framework. I'd suggest React or Angular. Like they're the most popular ones, but if you want to get started with Vue.js, you can do that as well. Like it totally depends on the kind of projects you want to make. Like some of them are built on Vue, some on Angular. It totally depends on the person who's building it and the organization you're building for. And after you're done with learning React, just make projects. Doesn't matter if how small the projects they are. Either they are for a hackathon or just for your personal use, like for a personal portfolio. You can make projects. And for applying for internships, you can either find it on LinkedIn or on Internshala. Like these two platforms are very useful, and I certainly recommend these platforms. Just make a good portfolio of projects and showcase your work in public. That's very important. Doesn't matter how small your achievement is or how small the project you built is, just showcase in public, because there are a lot of people who don't even know that stuff and they would appreciate it for you and they'll get motivated by you.
Right. That uh, the last point of not worrying what others would think, like just showcasing a project and publicly, that's important. So, how do you recommend showcasing a project? Like, what do you mean by that?
So either you can just put your portfolio on LinkedIn, like, hey, see this project I made recently, and just put a video demo out there. Or if you're on Twitter, I'd suggest starting with 100 days of code or 60 days of code. Like depends on your consistency. I started with 100 but had to stop at 60 because a lot of work came on me. So learning in public is something that I really promote because it lands you a lot of opportunities. Like people see your work, they see your dedication and consistency, and then they think, okay, this person is worthy enough to get opportunity at my company or at the place that I've worked. So they offer you some projects or maybe some internship offers. Like it doesn't happen to everyone, I'm not saying, but then if you are working hard continuously and your luck is good enough, then opportunities will definitely land in your field.
Right. But you should always try, like, always give it a try. Don't assume that I won't get it or something like that.
Yeah, you need to push yourself and get motivated by yourself only. Like we can't come every day to motivate you, but you are the only one who can persuade yourself and get out of the shell and just start learning in public and sharing your projects and your achievements.
Right. A question just in continuation with that is how to keep ourselves motivated, especially when you consider this scenario that you are in an environment where not many people are doing what you want to do. And how can we still, have that passion burning inside us to continue that path, to continue this tech path?
So I'd suggest, like, even if your university or college doesn't have a coding environment as of now, just join communities that are not college restrictive. Like I used to be in some WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups which used to have discussions around tech and open source, because when I started with open source, not a lot of people in my college were doing that. Maybe just 2 3 people that I know personally were into open source. So starting into a zone that is not all your peers are doing, so it takes a lot of guts. You are on your own because you don't have the resources and don't have the peer help. But by joining a community and having people around you that are like-minded, you can certainly find a lot of communities. Like people make a lot of communities nowadays because they see the need of people. They see that people don't have a proper coding environment in their college now, especially in the colleges that are tier 3 or tier 2, like whatever you want to call them. But joining communities like this would definitely help, because a lot of people from the colleges where the coding competitions, like the coding environment is a lot more prominent, they do join those groups and then help you people to get started with your journey as well. So it doesn't matter from which college or university you are. It's up to you, like which groups you belong to and what's your company. And that would definitely help you to keep yourself motivated, because earlier with me was the same stuff. Like I didn't have a lot of people around me who were into coding, but then I somehow had to get started, so I started joining a lot of communities and starting building calendars. And doing the 100 days of code challenge was a big move for me, because I had a huge problem with consistency. Like I would do some things for 2 3 days and then I get tired. Okay, like I'm fed up of it. Like suppose if I'm not able to solve any questions that day, you might get fed up, but then you just pick yourself the next day and start with it again.
Right. Exactly, rightly said. You can actually follow Vani on Twitter. Twitter is really inspiring. I'll just share you the link to her Twitter profile. Uh, she mostly she can you can see her journey about 60 like 100 days of code. But
Yeah, I'm planning on continuing that as soon as I get some free time, because right now it's very jam packed for me.
because you're having so many things at once, do, and then you have other stuff going around. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you mentioned about communities and GDSC is also a community, right? So, um, what according to you, a community like DSC or coding clubs can do to help bridge the gap between branches?
So the communities, like the college communities like GDSC and other such technical communities, they don't actually segregate people on the basis of of their branches. So you get a chance to be around with people from CS and IT as well, who are much into coding and hackathons, and you can team up with them, like just make friends with them and just team up for an event. Because initially it's hard to find people for a hackathon or such group coding competitions when you're not friends with many people. But you have to step out of your comfort zone and just get introduced to new kind of people around you, and technical communities play a good part in this because they help people gel up. And when you are learning with other people, you certainly get close to them because you discuss your doubts, you discuss your weak points, and that makes you familiar with the other person and how their mind works, and what are their strengths and weaknesses, and how good will they be as a team player, right? So you can start working on projects with them, like your own personal projects for hackathons, maybe for competitions, for coding competitions. You can team up with people. And also the mentors are very helpful. Like if you are not able to get started with something, just go up to a mentor and just ask, like, hey, I'm not able to start with this, or like what hackathons are actually, I'm not able to figure out. So they'll definitely help you, because most of the mentors are your seniors and are usually experienced with this kind of stuff. So they can help you as well, and you can team up with your mentors too, they'll teach you a lot more stuff.
Right. So there is just all you need to do is to just actually step out. There's no if there's no formula, there's no magic. You just have to take a step. That's it, and everything just you just get a flow and you keep on doing things and talking to people and all. That's great. So our next question is how easier it is to grab an internship after I learned backend web development.
If you want to work as a web developer, then obviously you might have to go off campus route, because the companies that come on campus are usually for like software development, and that might not always include web development. So if you want to get into web development only, you can look out for internships first, and then after the internships you have a good portfolio or resume, say. So you can like pursue startups like Razorpay. They hire a lot of web development engineers, so you can go out to them. And there are a lot more startups like I'm forgetting names, Urban Company, and then what's the one, the learning one, uh, I'm forgetting the name right now, but there are a lot more startups that are hiring web developers. So make a good portfolio, have 1 2 internships, and just showcase your work. Like if you make a project, just put it out on Twitter or LinkedIn and say, hey, I just made this project. Go check out on Twitter and start the project and just contribute to it. You can make your projects open source too. So if your projects are large scale, certainly the recruiters notice that.
Right. I guess it's pretty clear what you explained to us.
Now I remember the name of the
Okay.
startup. I wanted to say Unacademy. I was forgetting the name.
Okay. And okay, An Academy, yeah, they are. So Anna blessed them. Okay, thank you, Anna. Thank you so much. Um, so is there any, let's say, a situation or any struggle of yours that you want to share with us that probably can inspire the participants here?
Okay, so I'll just reiterate a little bit of what I said before. Like my first year was just me and my dramatic society and my harmonium, since I was an instrumentalist. So I play and sing. Tech was not my priority during first year, and lost a lot of opportunities because of that, because I wasn't aware of scholarship programs, I wasn't aware of like the step internship program. Or if I would have been aware, I would have prepared for them, I would have been more serious about my career. But in the long run it didn't harm me at all, because I'm still at the place where most of the people who got those opportunities are. So you have, like, once you start late, it doesn't matter whenever you start, you just need to have the pace to cover it up and be in the race with your peers. And it's not always a very unfriendly race or a very competitive environment, you just can be collaborative instead. Take help from them, it doesn't matter if they might think that you're not at their level. As long as your cause is being fulfilled, like you are getting the proper help from them, it doesn't matter. Okay, just reach out to them. Like, a lot of my friends who are in touch with me right now are the ones who I used to think were way ahead of me in first year. So when you be friends with them and ask like what differently did they, like how differently did they do their stuff, and you get to know a lot of things from them, right? So even if you start late, catching up is not very difficult if you find the right ground at the right time.
Really inspired. I got so inspired and fired up by just listening this. So it's just about being fearless. What I kind of get a vibe from this discussion is just you have to be fearless. You just don't kind of have to care what others would say. You just have to do it and just just take the first step, and everything would probably align up after that. And also, a very good point that you mentioned is to learn from the people you look up to, or learn from the people you think are doing great, from your peers who are doing great. Ask them, like, not sideline them or just not talk to them. Just you have to interact with them and just know what actually how did they make it.
Jealousy won't do any good for you. Don't be jealous of people whom you think are ahead of you. Instead, learn from their journey and learn from their experiences. Like, it would teach you a lot and motivate you as well to work.
Right, exactly, truly said. Jealousy doesn't do any good. It's just like you go into imposter syndrome after comparing negatively with other people. So
Yeah.
right,
Sometimes social media even gives you imposter syndrome. Like, you will see people on LinkedIn and Twitter posting their achievements, but then again, it's up to you whether you want to get motivated from them or get jealous of them. I'll take the first route and get motivated, and then grab these opportunities the next time they were open for like the people. And it's very difficult to get over the imposter syndrome and the jealousy part, but it's your willpower and your determination which will take you ahead.
rightly said. Like, you just frame words so beautifully, and the way you present them with such clarity. Just, I'm a big fan of yours. I just say it. So, anyone has any other doubt or any other question you have for her, you can unmute yourself, or you can just put it in the chat, or you can put it in the form that is in the chat. So, we'll just give like a 1 minute time to them, 1 to 2 minute time to them if they have any. Although we covered like so many points, uh, this discussion was like really good. I really enjoyed it. Kushi, we kind of did cover it, but I guess Vani can sum it up. How do
Yeah,
you
sure.
manage your EC subjects along with coding and development?
So for the balancing part, I learned time management and other life skills very early on in my first year only. And after that, when the lockdown was imposed, I just managed my time well along with the online classes, because my university kind of slowed down and had to just transition to the online mode. So the time being, I took on the charge and started back with DSA and web development, and it was not a lot of difficult, because usually what I do is, I'm not very focused on the EC subjects because I don't want to get into that core industry. I just study for the exams like 2 weeks before and like 1.5 week before, gather the notes, study at the last time. You still understand the stuff that the students understand in like 2 3 months, and it won't take you a lot of time to prepare for your core subjects, because if you're not serious about getting into that core industry, it doesn't matter like how in depth you know. Just knowing well enough for the exams is good enough, and the rest of the time that you have, you can devote it all to the coding and learning DSA and doing development. But do one thing at a time. Like suppose if you're listening to lectures, and just give your time to that, because then it would lessen your time for the exam preparation. You'll already know stuff and retain from the lectures that you listen to. And if you're doing DSA, do that at one time, and after that only start with development, because DSA is certainly a little bit more important than development, because companies that usually come on campus don't like judge you on your resume. Most of the time they just see your coding profiles and like how do you perform in the coding assessments. So DSA is someone on a higher weightage than development due to the hiring scenario that we have in India.
I guess that would answer it. Kushi, if you have any more follow-up questions, you can ask. Yep, I guess this is really clear. I think. So I guess we can probably wrap up if there are no more questions. We did cover a lot, many aspects, but there is a question now. What type of project should a beginner do in web development?
Okay, so I'll just tell you a little bit of the small projects that I used to build. Like I joined a technical society, and the mentor there was very good. Like every week she used to give us a small project to build, and I was very enthusiastic because most of the projects that she used to give were very interesting. Like she one time she gave us a project that we have to build a wallpaper website for our favorite band or maybe anime that you like. So I built that website, and then she gave us the task to build a website for a restaurant. So I just built a restaurant for my favorite cuisine. Like I'm a foodie, so that topic very much interested me. And then she gave us a project to build a quiz website using JavaScript. So I'm a fan of quizzes as well. Like GK is my thing. So I built a lot of quizzes. Like she asked us for 2 projects, but then I made 3 4 because I was very interested in whatever I was being taught in the class. And she also taught us how to use Figma. So I got onto some projects regarding designing as well. Like one of the projects she gave us to make a landing page, and after the project, I explored Figma on my own and learned a little bit of designing on it as well. And now, after like my Outreachy internship, also required me to work on Figma a little bit, so I'm very much familiar with the platform. So these instances, like if you join a technical community or technical society where the mentors are giving you interesting tasks, you can surely make those small projects. And you can also build your portfolio. Like it would showcase your like it would be a resume for you only. It would showcase your academic background, your achievements, and like your technical skills and your projects that you make. So you can build these projects as a beginner.
I greatly answered. I guess we'll have to wrap up because I have a huge storm here, so my light can going down. Thank you so much, Vani. Thank you so much for coming here. Like really inspiring. Like Asa said, really inspiring. Got to learn a lot from your journey. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
And I'm really glad that I got the platform to share my journey with you all. Like it's not easy to get into a industry like just by getting started with DSA or development. And also I just want to say one thing. Like if you're an introvert person who doesn't like to like gel up with people in the social settings, and you have a social anxiety, like even I have social anxiety, you just need to get out of your shell sometimes, because aims that you want the aims that you have and the goals that you want to achieve might like getting out of your shell is the only way to achieve that. So you have to fight back your personality and create like the fake it till you make it scenario. So you have to do that unless and until you get to your goal. And then once you just get out of your shell, realize that how many opportunities are there for you out there.
Summed up really nice. Totally, like I totally agree with you. This is something that we should all probably have courage to do so. I agree with you.